Courtroom in Ashland City, Tennessee. The following item will be heard. Agenda item to be heard. Jason Bumpus, representing William DePerry, requesting a zone change from E1 to R1 for a 9.35 acre portion of map 24, parcel 4, and a zone change from E1 to RPUD for a 21.66 acre portion of map 24, parcel 4. Property is located at 5959 Highway 41A in the 2nd voting district and is not in a special flood hazard area. Franklin Wilkinson, Director, Cheatham County Building Department.
Franklin, do you have anyone in the audience? Because I can't tell.
Yes, sir, I do.
If you would allow them to come to the microphone and sit down at your desk and talk to us.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak? So I don't have anybody. I'm sorry. We do have one person.
Okay. Who's this?
Hi, I'm Michelle Perry. I live at 5991 Highway 41A. My property is adjacent to the proposed development. We've lived there 15 years. I've been in Cheatham County my entire life with my husband as well. And there's several concerns that we have. Zoning. We are not opposed to R1, but we are opposed to the RPUD development. There is a major traffic issue on 41A already. Anytime 41A closes down, our driveway is blocked. And we've had a medical emergency and been unable to leave our driveway because it is blocked. On December 2nd, there was a horrible accident on 41A. The entire corridor was shut down for a few hours. So Life Flight landed directly across from our home. And it's just been we have traffic issues already. A development of this size will only exacerbate that issue.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being there. Thank you.
Mr. Jordan?
Yeah.
I just got a text. Tim Ray is trying to get into the Zoom call if you'd let him in.
I couldn't tell who that was.
We're good. I don't know if everybody can hear me or not. John, you want me to go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, please, sir. Thank you.
Okay. My name's Jason Bumpus. This will be the third size development that I've done. I don't know what everybody's been hearing, but from some of the rumors that I've been hearing is that I'm going to do ultra high density, like over there in the villages with real tall buildings and stuff like that. That is not the case. This will represent more along the lines of my subdivision on Substation Road that was a 75-foot road frontage. And it will be more of a 2,000 to 2,500 square foot house. This will not be starter home, kind of high density apartments or townhouses or anything like that. I did have it zoned commercial along the main road. Actually, that was advice given to me that the state of Tennessee encourages commercial on 41A, especially between Clarksville and Nashville. The first planning commission meeting we came around and people were against that. It seemed to be the only real thing they were against. So I moved it to R1 on the main road and the PUD in the back. These PUDs that I do, like I did over on Walnut Grove, it gives the ability to have open land. Y'all know what a PUD is, and to where kids can play and you can conserve some of the environment around in between the subdivision roads and stuff like that. It's a big risk to take the risk to build. It's not a sure thing by any stretch of the imagination. Misty Acres almost took me 10 years to develop out. I panicked a little bit on Walnut Grove when COVID hit and sold more lots than I probably should have. But the main reason that I want to develop this property is because of where it's at. It actually has I know the concerns on the interstate, if the interstate's backed up. I believe, I've seen it, I just avoid Pleasant View altogether if the interstate's backed up. But I don't think, I mean, that's gonna happen no matter any time the interstate's backed up. But what I wanna do is, because it has water, it has sewer, it has electricity, it's got gas lines, it's got a built-in turning lane coming up the hill with 3 lanes right in front of it, and it's for sale. Those are the things that pushed me over there, and I want to be a local builder in Cheatham County that contributes back to the community, that raises my kids in the community, that came to the meetings when we were increasing our building permits and stood beside everybody and said, we definitely need to do this. I don't want my mother's property taxes going up because we're building more houses. Let's transfer it to the houses. Just please, let's transfer it over time, which we're almost at the end of that time. So these houses, according to the fees that we're paying, should help pay for schools and parks in the area, as well as it's got 2 different exit 31 and exit 24 to get back and forth between Nashville and Clarksville. I was very lucky to be able to get my hands on this, to be the first bidder and to actually overbid to where I knew I could get my hands on it. I do believe that if I don't get to develop this, somebody with maybe a corporation or somebody like that, I know they have to go through y'all. But they will spend the money on traffic studies and lawyers and stuff like that because it's for sale. And it's not on Thomasville Road or even Hicks Edging. It's right on 41A, which had less traffic on it now than it had in the 1960s. So the reason that we're doing the density is because whenever we start cutting these roads in and bringing up the water and bringing up the electric, I can't build a $100,000 lot and build a house on it that'll appraise. I got to try to keep my lot costs down to where the lots are somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 to $75,000 and put a 2,000 to 2,500 square foot house on it. And that's the market that will sell. And of course, that's what we're in here. That's just, economics dictate that. There's no guarantee I'll even make any money on it, but I just want to be able to build houses in Cheatham County, quality homes, all masonry homes. Based on what I've done in the past, I've done it building towards this future. And I want to be able to hopefully do a good job on this to where I can come back in front of y'all and do maybe even another development in the future. But hopefully this one will last me quite some time to where I can build houses locally and give back to the local community as a local builder. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bubbles. Mr. Ray, can you hear me?
Mr. Chairman.
Just a minute, Ms. Chance.
Yes, sir.
Franklin, is there anyone else?
Yes, sir, there is.
Okay, let them come forward.
Hi, I'm Mark Perry, and I live adjacent to the property with my wife, Michelle. And when we first come to this first meeting is what I was told there was 5,000 per acre. It's not going to be 2,500 square foot houses per acre because it wouldn't be enough room for that. The story has changed on us, so I don't know what's going on.
Did you tell if he'd been there?
But need to make sure what's actually going on and not going on. And that traffic is terrible going up through there. And he says it's a turning lane. It's not a turning lane, it's a racetrack. They start there with closing the turning lane, come out in the yard, and it's like 75, 80 mile an hour there. And I guarantee you there will be some major wrecks right there. It's a curve also in that hill, right where he wants his road to come out at. And it's just not a safe place. It's not really a safe place for a subdivision to be put at all. But that's about all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Anyone else, Franklin?
No, sir.
Mr. Chance, you wanted to speak a minute ago. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. As a member of the Planning and Zoning Board, the reason that we chose to deny the request for a rezone was simply because the county planner in his recommendation said that we needed to, if we wanted to do this, then we were going to be making a conscious effort to allow a possible precedence for more and more RPUD high density housing. Even though Mr. Bumpus may not want, that may not be what his plan is, it certainly could be his plan in the future or someone else's plan. And through that 41A corridor up to New Hope Road, we were hoping for more commercial. As a matter of fact, we just changed the zoning, approved a zoning change for a piece of property near the corner of Jackson Phelps Road and 41A last month for up to 150 bed hotel. And that's more of what would bring in more tax dollars to help the county rather than rooftops with more capital for the county, you know, having to spend for schools and roads and whatever. So I just wanted the commission to understand that we didn't flippantly just not, vote to approve Mr. Bumpus's request. I mean, there was some meat behind what the reason we made that decision and why we suggested to you guys that you, turn down that request. So I just wanted to make it known that why we did that.
Thank you, Mr. Chance.
Thank you.
Anyone else that's not on the commission that wishes to speak? Not hearing anyone. Ms. Teresa, are you here?
Yes.
I keep losing you. I'm sorry. We will end the public forum or public hearing at 17 minutes after 6. And there will not be a public forum. I don't believe there's anyone there, Franklin, that wishes to speak in general, is there?
No, sir, there's not.
Okay. Sheriff, will you call us to order, please?
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, this Zoom meeting for December 21st in futuristic Technicolor is now in session.
Mr. Byrne?
Okay, let's pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you again another month, and we thank you, Lord, for your blessings and for your presence. We thank you, Lord, so much for this time of the year when we get to celebrate Christmas, Lord, the birth of our Savior. We thank you, Lord, for that opportunity we have and the freedom we have to do that here in our country, in our county where we live. And Father, we just, again, just want to thank you and praise you, Lord, because you give us everything that we have. And Lord, we just come before you now because we know that our country is going through many crises, Lord. Those crises affect us here at home in our community, Lord, with health, Lord, with economics and so many other things right now, Lord. We just ask that you'd help us to look up to you, to get on our knees and look up to you, Lord, for all the needs. And Lord, we ask that you just bless us and bless our county, Lord. Bless our commissioners tonight as they meet, Father. And we always ask that you protect those on the front line, Lord, for us, whether it be medical, whether it be law enforcement or military, Lord, those who are serving, that you'd protect them as well, Lord. We just ask, Lord, that you just bless us greatly, Lord, because we need it. And we need you right now. We pray these things in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
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 Walter, will you do the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Walter?
I couldn't find my flag.
Okay. Walter, are you there? You want to do the Pledge of Allegiance? You do the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Walter. Mr. Tracy, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. David Anderson.
Here.
Gary Binkley.
Come back to him.
Ann Giroux.
Yes.
Tim Williamson.
Here.
Chris Gilmore.
Here.
Connie Mayo.
Here.
Donnie Jordan.
Here.
Walter Weekly,
Here.
Diana Lovell,
Here.
Eugene Evans,
Here.
Ed Greer,
Here.
Randy Lyles,
Here.
Gary Binkley.
Here.
12 present, 0 absent.
Claire, we have enough to have a quorum. Do we have a motion on approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Anderson, second by who?
I'll
Mr. Evans?
second.
Okay, Mr. Williams seconded the motion. All those in favor of approval of the agenda as presented, say aye. Anyone opposed? Ayes have that. We have a motion on our minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Mr. Weekly, second by Ms. Diana. Any discussion on the minutes? Any corrections? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye. Anyone opposed? Ayes have that. Are there any elected officials in the audience that wish to speak? Not seeing anyone. Anybody know of any unfinished business from last month? Mr. Wilson, we are to you. Mr. Wilson?
Okay. Agenda item 1, Jason Bumpus representing William DePerry requesting a zone change from E1 to R1 for a 9.35 acre portion of map 24 parcel 4 and a zone change from E1 to RPUD for a 21.66 acre portion of map 24 parcel 4. Property is located at 5959 Highway 41A in the 2nd voting district and is not in a special flood hazard area.
Before we have any motions on this, Mr. Bly, are you out there?
Mr. Jordan, I'd like to speak.
Yes, just a minute, Mr. Giroux. Mr. Bly?
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Bly needs to explain some stuff to us because there's a different scenario with a PUD request for us than there is just with a general rezone. Mr. Bly, would you explain it?
So there are a couple issues to touch on. The first is that a PUD is different than a regular rezoning in that when you typically rezone a property, you are rezoning it into a different zoning district. At that point, any of the allowed uses for that zoning district are then allowed. And it doesn't matter what the developer says they're going to do. So for example, if you rezone something to C1, a regular commercial district, then they can at that point build any of the things that are allowed in a C1 district, regardless of what the initial plan was. A PUD is different because they are rezoning to a particular plan. It's called a preliminary master plan. And when you're rezoning to a PUD, whether it's an RPUD or a mixed use PUD, the developer presents an initial plan and you are rezoning to that plan, not to any and all uses that might be allowed, but to that particular plan. They have to follow that plan from that point forward with some minor changes. They can do some minor things, and the Planning Commission has the ability to make some changes based on unanticipated conditions at the site and a few other things. But generally, in order for them, if they were going to drastically change the plan, it would constitute another rezoning, and they would have to bring it back to you again. So it is important to know what is in the plan because that is really what you're rezoning to. And we had an issue in the packet, it looks like, where the preliminary master plan didn't get distributed in the initial packet to the county commissioners. And I think it's been emailed out today, but I don't know if all of you had a chance to see it or not and really evaluate it. So there is, I guess, first of all, a question about whether you've had a chance to look at the plan and understand what you're being asked to do, because you do have to consider that plan, because that is what you're being asked to do. It's not just something that lies entirely with the Planning Commission. It's up to you to consider whether that plan is appropriate. The second point is that when you are doing a PUD, it's different than a regular rezoning in that regular rezoning is considered pure policy. You're just deciding whether or not it should be rezoned in that way. When you have a PUD, you already have standards in the zoning resolution. And the county commission's job in evaluating a PUD is to consider what is already in the zoning resolution and whether that has been complied with. Now, what's in the zoning resolution, there are kind of two broad categories of things. There's the technical requirements. And so that would be things like the lot size and the density and the setbacks from the road and those and the side yards and those things. And those are things that are reflected in the preliminary master plan. And it looks like those are pretty well been covered. Those were considered by at the Planning Commission, and it looks like those things have been complied with. The more general requirement is what the zoning resolution says about when a PUD is appropriate. And so I'll try to summarize that. But what you're supposed to consider is whether the character of the proposed development, consider the character of the proposed development in relationship to the surrounding area. And no such development should be approved where the streets providing access cannot handle the additional traffic load or where the water system is incapable of meeting the fire flow requirements. And you should also consider whether development is so planned, designed, and constructed so as to avoid undue traffic congestion in the surrounding area and provide a satisfactory relationship of land use of the planned unit development and the surrounding area, making use of landscaping, screening, open space, and building placements where required and in keeping with the accepted land planning principles. So you have still sort of some technical things about traffic and availability of water and those things to consider, but it's also more generally whether the development fits in with the, how well it fits in with the general area and the surrounding features of the land. Now, I would finally point out that this proposed development is in what is considered the county growth area. So that stretch that is south of I-24 around Pleasant View is an area that it's been many years ago now, but the county has designated that area as one for growth. So, you know, this is the part of the county you would expect to see growth. Now, you can see residential growth throughout the county, but this is one area that has been singled out in the past to get higher density growth. So it's a lot to lay on you pretty quickly, but I think you do need to consider the plan that's been presented and whether you've had time to look at it and take that in, and then whether it fits in with the area. I guess the last issue is because we've gone back to the Zoom meeting and whether there's been any confusion about the public's ability to participate in the public hearing, whether there was anybody who might have been there to voice their opinion at the public hearing but didn't for whatever reason because of some confusion, whether that is something that you need to consider and maybe give people another chance. I leave that up to you to decide.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Bly before we move forward? Mr. Rowe?
Yes, I'd like to say I hope everyone received the email from Barney Vaughn and his wife, who represents the people in that area. I have had a lot of calls from all over the area, and none of them wants this zone like this. It looks like to me that it would be spot zoning. It is out of character in the surrounding area because we don't have that anywhere else close. Also, there is a real concern with traffic on 41A. The state's website states that each day it's about 20,000 vehicles pass there. So that would be a problem. Also, you have to consider the school system. Pleasant View School, Sycamore, about its capacity. I would hope that you'd vote no on this zoning because the people in my district does not want this zoning. And I'd appreciate it if you would. Thank you.
Mr. Williams, do you have something?
And I want to make a motion to deny it.
I'll second the motion. I'll second it.
Mr. Rose made a motion to deny. Mr. Williams has made a motion to, or has seconded the motion. Ms. Diana. You're muted.
Diana, hold down your space bar.
Okay, got it. I have not gotten the email, so I haven't been able to look over that. I would like to see it deferred until next month, so we'd have a chance to study that plan.
Well, he's just telling you some of the concerns over there. You know, some of the concerns, and I covered some of them. You're not going to have, you know, he's not going to tell you about the plan. He's going to tell you about the concerns that the neighbors have.
But
I've had a lot of neighbors, a lot of people in my district, not over there, but all around on Mount Zion Road. They don't want it because their farms back up to that property. So they don't want it either. So, you know, and if we don't want it, we don't want it. That's it.
And I understand that, but according to Mr. Bly, we have a duty to study that plan and see if it fits because it is in the growth area and because we need to know what the plan is because he's not allowed to change from it or very little in this zoning.
Mr. Jordan, who was supposed to send the email out?
Mr. Wilson was, but Mr. Wilson went on vacation, I believe, left word for someone else there to send it. Am I right, Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, I sent the email out today and it was from a group list. I think I saw your name on there, Tim, but hopefully it was the right email address. So that went out this afternoon. I'm not sure what happened while the plan didn't get in the packet. My administrative assistant was out for 3 weeks. And as soon as she got back, I was gone and I left the stuff in the office and somehow it just got missed, I guess.
I did get it. I just looked. It was 217.
Right. Yeah. So you got
Mr. Gilmore.
I was just looking as well, and I received it, but it went to an old county email, so I have not seen it yet either. And I'd have to agree with Ms. Diana. I don't know if we need to table this to next month, but I think there's some legal issues that we need to make sure we consider and go through the process. I know that there's people that oppose it, but we want to make sure that we're following what the growth plan and everything that's set forward, and that we're not making a move in a direction that we don't need to be making.
Mr. Anderson?
I was just wondering if we could just, I've already looked at this, but maybe folks could look at it during the meeting and bring it back up later in the meeting.
Mr. Evans? Anyone else?
I think we need to give it a little more time than trying to study it during the meeting. I mean, I don't want to miss something else while I'm trying to look at that.
We've got a motion and a second. Are you making another motion?
I'm making a motion to defer it to the January meeting.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second to go to the January meeting. This has been going on for 3 months. There are some questions from the developer that are issues for him to go on. Is it conceivable with the 2 people who made the motion to go to a call meeting before January the 1st?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that part?
I said there's some economic issues and financial issues for the developer himself if it gets pushed all the way to the end of January. question I have for you is, would you consider having a call meeting on January the 4th to deal with this issue?
I'm okay with that.
Mr. Evans?
I might. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
instead of adjourning tonight, we could just recess and then come back at any day. We could do it this week if we wanted to. It shouldn't take long to review the plan. I've got it pulled up on my computer. It's pretty self-explanatory, and give time for, commissioners to call and ask questions if they wanted to tomorrow, and go ahead and at your decision, whatever decision you make to bring us all back, that way we wouldn't have to advertise it.
Well, the difference in the two is if we adjourn, we can come back whenever we want to. If we go to a call meeting, we do have to advertise it, which if there is anyone who wanted to speak tonight that got confused or mixed up about being able to do that, we'll give them another opportunity to do so.
Okay, that's fine with me.
So we've got, if I understand it, and I'm not trying to put words in Miss Diana's mouth, are you asking to do a call meeting?
Yes, I am.
And we got a second, which is an amendment to the original motion, I hope. Anybody else? Mr. Bly, is that in order?
Who was the second? Was that Mr. Evans?
Yes, it was.
I would just confirm that he seconds it as clarified.
He did.
Okay.
So we got a motion and an amendment.
An amendment, Donnie.
Pardon me?
Completely different things. I think if they want to defer it, that Miss Ann's going to need to remove her motion.
Miss Ann, do you wish to remove your motion, or do you wish to vote on it?
I guess I will, but I don't like it.
It's up to you. We'll do whatever you wish. If you want the first motion to be voted on, we will vote on it.
No, I don't. I'd like for it to be voted on tonight.
You'd like to be, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
I'd like for it to be voted on tonight.
Okay. Mr. Gilmore?
Then can we table the motion?
Yes. You can table the motion. What we're ruling on now is Miss Diana's motion along with my conversation was inappropriate. It's a totally separate motion. So we're back to the original motion with Mr. Rowe and Mr. Williamson. So that's what's on the floor at this point. Anybody else? Mr. Gilmore, anybody else?
I'd rather table it. I don't feel comfortable voting on it tonight.
Well, are you asking
making a motion? I'm making a motion, we table it.
Do we have a second? Ms.
Second.
Second. All right, Mr. Binkley has seconded the motion to table. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute, what does that mean?
Well, that's just what I'm going to. Is the table the proper term, or is it a different term?
They would have to table it. It would basically be, and Mr. Bly, correct me if I'm wrong, about the same thing as deferring it, like Ms. Lovell said, unless he wants to table it to later on tonight.
Yeah, a motion to table is to table it only for this meeting. It's not to a future meeting. So if it's not brought back up at this meeting, then that motion dies.
So is your motion to table, which means it has to come back tonight, or is your motion to defer?
Defer.
Defer. Who seconded the motion?
I did. I'll second that.
So yours is within line. So we got a motion and an amendment. Well, we got a motion and a second motion to defer. Yes, we got a second motion which takes precedent over the first motion, and it has to be voted on. Is that correct, Mr. Bly?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. And that stops all debate, if I'm correct.
Other than on the motion to defer.
Defer. Any discussions on the motion to defer?
How far are we deferring it to?
Next month.
All the way to January meeting?
Ms. Lovell and Mr. Evans already have that motion on the floor.
No, that was an improper motion.
What changed to it, Donnie?
Diana was amending, was voting on an amendment, which was improper.
Okay.
Based on our discussions, because as the clerk said, it was a total different.
All right.
It was not related per se. So it couldn't be an amendment to it. It had to be a separate motion. So that motion was not allowed.
Can we defer it to a called meeting real soon so that it won't hamper the builder? Can we defer it to a called meeting, or
You can defer it to whatever you wish.
What I'd like to do, Mr. Jordan,
Is what?
defer it to January the 4th.
To January the 4th. Is that okay with the person who made the second? Mr. Binkley?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Any more discussions on the deferral? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jordan, I had a question.
Has Miss Ann removed the motion to deny?
She has not removed the motion, but the motion to defer takes precedent over the motion to
Okay.
original motion, I believe. Correct, Mr. Bly?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Are we sure?
Motion
No.
to defer.
We're voting on the motion to defer.
January the 4th.
Donnie, are we sure we're going to have enough people to have a quorum on the 4th?
No. Not sure. No.
So if we defer it to and put the 4th date on there, and we're not able to have a meeting, what'll happen then?
To the regular meeting, wouldn't it?
Pardon me?
I assume we're gonna Zoom, aren't we, Donnie?
Yes, we would.
Surely, I mean, everybody's got a computer, so we should be able to get a quorum. I don't see where that's an issue. You can get Wi-Fi just about anywhere in coffee shop.
Called meeting. We don't have to set a date. We can defer it to the meeting whenever Donnie calls the called meeting. Can we not?
Right now, we've got a motion to defer it, and Chris has stated, or Mr. Gilmore stated, till January the 4th. And that's been seconded. Now, if you want to withdraw all of that, start all over again, we can do that. But we're getting so many things out there now, it's going to get more than confusing.
I've got a question. Are we deferring Miss Ann's vote? Is that what we're deferring?
No, you're deferring the whole issue.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm good with whatever date. I just said January the 4th because that's what we had initially said, to keep it in line with what we had put out. I'm good with next week, if y'all are good with next week.
The only concern that I have is that if we defer, if we go to a call meeting, if we're going to go to one, if we're going to a call meeting, it gives anybody else an opportunity to speak. If you go with a deferment and do not adjourn tonight's meeting, then there is no more speaking.
Okay.
I think we ought to have another meeting if we have one. Give those people a chance to talk in my district.
So we've got a motion by Mr. Gilmore and a second by
Mr. Binkley.
Mr. Binkley.
Mr. Binkley, to defer this to a January the 4th called meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does everyone understand the motion?
Yes.
Anybody else want to discuss that motion?
How many people does it take to table a motion to defer, to do this? What's the vote got to be?
Just a majority,
Just a majority.
7.
Just a majority.
Really? Okay.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo,
Yes.
Donnie Jordan,
Yes.
Walter Weekly,
Yes.
Diana Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans,
Yes.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles,
Yes.
David
David,
Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
Ann Giroux,
No.
Tim Williamson,
No.
yes, and 2 no to defer.
Declare the motion to defer till the call meeting on January the 4th has been passed. Everyone on this issue, get all the information you need to get to feel comfortable in your vote, whatever it is. Please do that. We need to come back and solve this issue for the constituents out in Mr. Rowe's area, Mr. Williams' area, as well as the developer in the county. Mr. Mayor, where do you?
Thank you, Chairman Jordan. You have in your packet several items for consideration tonight, possibly on a consent calendar. The first item of consideration, vote for the mayor's signature on America's Thrift contract for the containers to be stationed at our solid waste facilities. Item number 2, vote for the mayor's signature on the Omnia Master Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchasing Agreement that's associated with the sheriff's furniture that was approved last month. Item 3, vote for a new Verizon cellular contract, NASPO contract, and also sent out to you an email last Wednesday at the advice of Attorney Bly was to consider the state contract, which is more in line, and he has reviewed that, and that was his recommendation. So hopefully you got that in your email. The next item is a vote on moving Human Resources Office from the courthouse to the Highway Department area that's now located at Sycamore Square. This would occur upon approval with completion of the new Highway Department, where those offices are relocated to the George Boyd Road facility. And now the last item for consideration on the consent calendar tonight is vote for the mayor's signature on the CEMC franchise agreement, allowing them to provide internet cable TV service in the northern part of the county.
Do we have a
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Diana to approve. Second, Mr. Eugene. Discussions on it?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Is Human Resources going to take up that whole area where the highway department is now?
Yes, it's just a little bit bigger than what she has here at the courthouse, but it also will be used somewhat by HR and payroll too, because they'll be next door. So it'll kind of be a combined area and a lot of files and stuff in that area.
Anyone else?
Will there be any cost remodeling or?
No, it'll stay just as it is. So there'll be no cost to remodel that area. We had discussed in May in a future phase, there's that wall in between the two lobbies, between the two areas. If they're all working together in a future phase, we may remove that one wall. So it's kind of like an open suite. They don't have to go out inside of the hall to go side to side. But there's no improvements or no changes whatsoever in this. Just like VSO, there was no changes there for accounting to go in that area, as they'll be moving once VSO relocates to the front of the center.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Diana Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans,
Yes.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles,
Yes.
David Anderson,
Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
Ann Giroux,
Yes.
Tim Williamson,
Yes.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo,
Yes.
Donnie Jordan,
Yes.
Walter Weekly.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Declare that has passed, Mr. Mayor. Anything else?
Only other thing is informational, the reappointment of John Wern and Brenda Montgomery to the Cheatham County Planning Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission. New terms that will extend through the end of December 2024. And also on the E911 board, the reappointment of Tim Binkley and Billy Hudspeth Jr., or BJ, as most of y'all know, to the emergency board. Those terms will also extend through the end of December of 2024. Other than that, I'll be glad to answer any questions. And if there are no questions, by all means, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Any questions for the mayor? Not hearing any. Ms. Batts? Oh, Ms. Batts.
All right, item 1, budget amendments, county general. Jail, $225.06. Other operations, $9,877. County buildings, $2,703.26. Emergency medical services, $6,932.74. Emergency management, $125. Emergency medical services, $13,000. Budget vote, 5 yes, 0 no, 0 absent. Funding source, various.
Anyone wish to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Anderson, is that the motion?
Yes.
Did anyone second?
Tim Wilson.
Tim? Tim has seconded the motion. Any discussion on those amendments? Not hearing any. Call the roll, please.
David Anderson,
Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
Angela Rowe,
Yes.
Tim Williamson,
Yes.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo,
Yes.
Donnie Jordan,
Yes.
Walter Weekly,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans,
Yes.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Declare- That motion has passed. I'm still with you, Ms. Batts.
Item 2, budget amendments, solid waste. Convenience centers, $900. Sanitation management, $23,789. Budget vote, 5 yes, 0 no, 0 absent. Funding source varied.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Mr. Lovell. Do we have a second? Mr. Evans?
Second.
Any discussion? Any questions?
What, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
why did the budget committee go from a 4-wheel drive to a 2-wheel drive for the director of the? Seemed like to me that 4-wheel drive would be needed if you've been back on that landfill over there, and then of course in some of these convenience centers, and also if you had to pull something with it, you know, if you had to hook a chain, and I mean the 4-wheel drive to me would make sense, but I just wondered what the discussion was about that.
Mr. Greer?
The discussion started out, it was the first truck was a 4-wheel drive, 4-door Silverado. And we didn't see the need for that. And we reduced it down to a 2-wheel drive extended cab.
When the question was asked, Mr. Binkley, about the use of the 4-wheel drive, it was maybe, and Mr. Mayor, if I'm wrong, please help me, maybe 10 or 12 times a year. Is that correct? Mr. Mayor?
That is correct. As far as the needing that third seat, or more than 3 people riding in there, we talked about the 4-wheel drive in inclement weather, and of course he goes out and serves those centers. And somebody said on the committee that if the weather's that bad, nobody will be getting out to bring trash, so he doesn't need to get out either. So that's when it was converted to a 2-wheel drive instead of a 4-wheel drive.
It just seems like to me that I mean, you're talking about $4,000 more to have 4-wheel drive, and if he need to get out in bad weather, he'd be able to get out and take care of business. So I'd like to amend that to from $23,789 to $28,663.90.
I second that.
Mr. Gilmore, we got a motion, Mr. Binkley, or amendment, Mr. Binkley, to increase it back to the 4-wheel drive truck at $28,000 and some odd dollars. And Mr. Gilmore has seconded that. discussion on the amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have to say this. I know Mr. Binkley and I, a lot of times we might not always agree on things, but I noticed that also. And I just from personal experience, I drive one of the exact same trucks that y'all are looking at, and I can't hardly drive it across wet grass without it getting stuck. And the difference in going up a size, you've got a little bit heavier pickup truck that's a little more designed for doing some of the work that they would do. So I'm just basing that kind of off some personal experience as well.
Mr. Anderson?
Well, I'd just like to say that in our discussion, they had been driving a two-wheel drive for the last, 17 years or so? If they've been driving it for the last 17 years, why should we have to change?
Don't forget now, we got global warming, so it's not going to snow no more around here.
Mr. Mayor?
Well, the truck that he has is, like I said, it's been slipping transmission. It's got 280,000 miles on it. The motor is blown. So in all likelihood, whatever truck we invest in right now, he is going to have, and the department is going to have for the next 10 to 12, probably 15 years. So when you start to divide the 4,000 extra charge for the 4x4, I think it's a wise investment. That's the reason I brought the 4x4 to the committee. They kind of batted it back, but I agree with Mr. Binkley and Mr. Gilmore. It needs to be considered because that truck is what he's going to have, or that department, or whatever the director, whoever the director is for the next 12 to 15 years. And I think it's a good return on that investment. But again, a new truck will be better than one with a blown engine. So we just need a truck. I'd like for y'all to move on this tonight.
And also, Mr. Jordan, didn't we buy the maintenance director a four-wheel drive truck?
No, sir, we did not.
They took it out of that one also, you may recall, Mr. Binkley.
Okay.
Commissioner Binkley.
Thank you.
I'd like to make, I just don't think it's good taxpayer money to be buying four-wheel drive, four-door Silverados for our county employees.
I agree.
We also have to look at the upkeep and the maintenance and repairs on one. I mean,
I agree.
It's more maintenance with four-wheel drive.
I agree with Mr. Greer and Mr. Williamson on that.
Anyone else wish to speak on the subject? We've got an amendment by Mr. Binkley and a second by Mr. Gilmore, or vice versa, to increase, I think it's the way I said it.
It is.
Increase the truck back up to 28,000 plus and go back to the Silverado four-wheel drive, four-door truck. Anyone else wish to comment on it? We're voting on the amendment. Call the roll, please.
Gary Binkley.
Yes.
Ann Giroux.
No.
Tim Williamson.
No.
Chris Gilmore.
Yes.
Connie Mayo.
No.
Donnie Jordan.
No.
Walter Weekly.
No.
Diana Lovell.
Yes.
Eugene Evans.
No.
Ed Greer.
No.
Randy Lyles.
No.
David Anderson.
No.
I have 3 yes and 9 no.
Motion to the amendment has failed. We're back to the original motion. Anyone else want to discuss the original motion? Call the roll on the original motion, please.
Diana Lovell.
Yes.
Eugene Evans.
Yes.
Ed Greer.
Yes.
Randy Lyles.
Yes.
David Anderson.
Yes.
Gary Binkley.
Yes.
Ann Giroux.
Yes.
Tim Williamson.
Yes.
Chris Gilmore.
Yes.
Connie Mayo.
Yes.
Donnie Jordan.
Yes.
Walter Weekly.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Okay, the original motion as presented has passed. Ms. Batts, we're still with you.
Okay, Item 3, budget amendments, general purpose school, regular instruction program, technology, $222,691.39. School board vote 5 yes, 0 no, 1 absent. Education vote 5 yes, 0 no, 2 absent. Funding source grant.
Mr. Williams,
Make a motion to approve.
do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Gilmore. Any discussion on this? This is a grant. COVID-19 grant. Not seeing anybody or hearing anybody, call the roll, please.
Tim Williamson,
Yes.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo,
Yes.
Donnie Jordan,
Yes.
Walter Weekly,
Yes.
Diana Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans,
Yes.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles,
Yes.
David Anderson,
Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
and Giroux.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Declare that motion has passed. We're still with you, Ms. Batts.
Item 4, budget amendment, central cafeteria, food service, $42,000, food service, $50,000, school board vote, 5 yes, 0 no, 1 absent, education vote, 5 yes, 0 no, 2 absent, funding source, grants.
Mr. Williamson,
Motion to approve.
we have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Evans. Any discussion on it? Call the roll, please.
Tim Williamson,
Yes.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo,
Yes.
Donnie Jordan,
Yes.
Walter Weekly,
Yes.
Diana Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans,
Yes.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles,
Yes.
David Anderson,
Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
and Giroux.
Yes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Record it, call it, please. Madam Clerk,
12 yes, 0 no.
declare that motion has also passed. Ms. Batts, we're still with you.
Okay, item 5 is a capital outlay note request of $4,456,639 to fund the school bus garage facility. That project was approved at the November commission meeting, and this would be the funding for it. Budget vote was 5 yes, 0 no, 0 absent. Funding source, note proceeds.
Do we have a motion? Mr. Williamson? Anybody?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Motion, Mr. Greer, to approve. Do we have a second? Mr. Anderson? Discussion on it. There's been a lot of conversations about this and some other items that we've got in interest with the school board. It seems tonight that those interests are going to be dealt with quickly. And I believe, Mr. Mayor, are you still with us?
Yes, sir, right here.
I believe that the other issues that are out there that deal with county government and the school system are trying to be rectified in the way that makes us all happier. Is that correct?
Everything has been positive and upbeat from Dr. Beck as well as David Reisner to work towards something we all can live with. So that's what I expect come January.
I just wanted the commission members to know that before we go any further, because I know there's been a lot of conversations going on.
Are you talking about the storage building, Mr. Chairman?
I am. Yes, sir.
Did we verify that we did use county money, not school board money, to build that storage building that's behind the Tucker Empson building?
I did.
Okay, so it is.
Yes.
So when they come back with $150,000 appraisal, part of that appraisal, part of that value is our building that we built behind the Tucker Empson building. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, that would be stand to right. We built the building on their property.
Right.
The issue that's out there at the moment is that in county government records, there doesn't seem to be any indication of what the school board did that allowed us to do that. In talking with a prior director of schools, their belief was that there is possibly something out there, possibly even in the school board minutes, somewhere between 1996 and somewhere in 1998, possibly. That person did not believe that the county mayor at that time or the county executive at that time would just arbitrarily build a building on school board property without something somewhere.
Right.
And it's not in county commission records that we can find. It's not in Patrick Smith's records where deeds were done, but was there an agreement made that the school board has in their minutes that would have to go back to 96 to 98? I did share that with Dr. Beck. She did not think it would come down to that at that time. I don't think Mr. Reisner thinks it will come down to that. So that's a lot of excessive work to even dig those records out to try to find them if they don't believe it will come down to that type of an issue. And they're saying they don't.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Anybody else with any comments? Yes, sir. Mr. Greer.
Would you be able to tell the commission, Sandrine, what the interest rate is on this loan? Because I was shocked at how low it is.
This one here was on 1.5%, not to exceed 1.5%. They're saying it's probably going to be a little bit less than that, but they did wanted to be on the safe side, not to exceed 1.5%.
We don't want to lose that 1.5%. Not on this kind of money. Anybody else? Anybody, Walter? No? Call the roll, please.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles,
Yes.
David Anderson. David Anderson. He's muted.
Anderson, you're muted.
Yes. Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
Ann Giroux,
Yes.
Tim Williamson,
Yes.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo, Donnie Jordan,
Yes.
Walter Weekly,
Yes.
Diana Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans.
Yes.
12 yes, 0 no.
Declare anyone wish to change their vote? Declare that motion is passed. Anything else with Ms. Batts?
I have one more final item, sir.
I'm sorry. Oh.
Item 6 is surplus items for the county general fund. These are just miscellaneous items from the county clerk's office. She had 11 computer towers, 7 signature pads, 11 computer mice, 13 keyboards, 11 monitors, a fax machine, and a typewriter. All of these items have reached their end of life, and once approved for surplus, the items will be disposed of.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on it? Call the roll, please.
Diana Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans,
Yes.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles,
Yes.
David Anderson,
Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
Ann Giroux,
Yes.
Tim Williamson,
Yes.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo,
Yes.
Donnie Jordan,
Yes.
Walter Weekly.
Yes.
12 yes and 0 no.
Motion has passed. Ms. Batts, anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
I'm sorry. Mr. Bly.
Well, you've already had to listen to me talk about zoning, so I won't make you listen to anything else, but I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
I would encourage all of you on this zoning issue, if you have questions and concerns about the legality of stuff on this, please call Mr. Bly and make yourself feel as comfortable as possible before we go any further on it. Anybody with questions for Mr. Bly? Mr. Mayor, is the economic development person, is he ill?
He is not ill. He's traveling back from North Carolina. He's been off the last 3 or 4 days and traveling back. And I got a text a little bit before the meeting started. He's still on the road. He thought he'd be back by now, but he's not. So he is not here. But he's working on several projects at ECD, and so he will definitely give you an update next month. If anybody's got any questions, by all means, reach out to him. He's more than willing to help you out or give you an update on anything you need.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Beck.
Hey, first of all, thank you guys for voting for that. We are beyond thrilled. I hope you got to see the Bethlehem Star. That to me was the best thing of 2020. I feel beyond blessed to do that. I want to tell y'all that we are watching our current cases of COVID very closely. I'm meeting with my staff on Wednesday. And just in case, so you've heard it from me, we are creating a contingency plan in case we have to go virtual coming back. That's not what we want to do, but we are certainly looking at what we need to do in regards to Governor Lee's executive order and the current cases in our county and also our reopening plan. So we just always like to be prepared in case. We think having kids in school is what's best for kids. Another thing that you may get some phone calls about though, TSSAA has just released this afternoon some guidelines for sports. And they have really made some constricting, if you will, guidelines for who can attend games, that type of thing. We are following TSSAA guidelines, and I already see that one of the things on TSSAA guidelines is that they said that no cheerleaders, no band, no extended family members can attend any athletic functions. They are really trying to limit the number of people that are attending our athletic games. And so we are following all their guidelines. And so I hope you don't get any calls as complaints, but we want to do what's right and follow the guidelines that they give. So I want to wish all of y'all a Merry Christmas, a safe Christmas. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And here's to a very positive 2021.
Thank you, Dr. Beck. Anyone with questions for Dr. Beck or statements to her?
I want to thank you, Dr. Beck, for getting on that fence over there at the elementary school, and appreciate y'all jumping on that.
Absolutely, Randy. And we have got people that are looking at it and giving us a prize. So we're on it. So happy to help out.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Mr. Gilmore?
Hey, Dr. Beck, if you could, on the school cases, is that staff or students, or what's that looking like on your COVID cases?
Well, what we do is the state dashboard asks us to track how many new cases came in. We do it on Monday for the previous week. I'm gonna say we had about 35 new cases this past week, but that's on top of what the cases were the previous week. We're looking at over 70 cases in our district. We see them in central office staff, in principals, in teachers, in students. It's everywhere. And so, so we are trying our best to, we ended the last 2 weeks on a hybrid model, trying to limit the number of folks that were in the building. And I think that helped for sure. One of the biggest issues that we struggled with is because of COVID, we just don't have a lot of people that are willing to substitute as well. And so just even to be able to staff our buildings has been a real challenge right now. We kind of take it one day at a time and try, to make the best decisions for safety. And that's our number one priority right now. So as I said, we're going to meet on Wednesday. We're going to go ahead and be proactive and have a plan in place in case we need to go virtual.
Thanks for what all y'all do, Dr. Beck. Y'all doing a great job.
Hey, it is a team, a team effort, and I consider all of y'all part of our team. So thanks to all of y'all too. It's like I said, it's one day at a time, and we do have wonderful folks. I've got an amazing board, y'all are a tremendous part of this effort as well. So thank you so very much.
Dr. Beck, do you know when a final decision about going back will be made?
Yes, we plan on making a decision and rolling out any kind of, and the communication, no matter what it is, next Monday. We want to make sure that we give families plenty of time, no matter what our decision is, to be able to fix their family child care situation in order. So that's our goal. Is next Monday, we're going to roll it out.
Last question I have for you is there any, have we received any information as to, I know our students will be down the line as far as being
vaccinated.
What about our teachers and administrators?
Well, we were excited in that the local health department called us on Friday and wanted to know how many employees we had in the school district, that they were making plans to vaccinate the school employees. So they didn't give us a timeline, but the fact that they did call and ask us about that, that was encouraging to us. And so I do think that's going to be a game changer when we can get everybody vaccinated. I was at the doctor today and asked the doctor as well. And they also agreed that educators seem to be on the second tier rollout of vaccinations. And so that's encouraging.
Mr. Anderson?
Dr. Beck, if y'all go virtual, are y'all, the kids who do not have laptops, are y'all planning on using some from the old ones from the schools to help our kids who needs laptops?
Yes. And so, David, I tell you what we did before we left this last week. We had just trying to be proactive. You know, I never want to operate in a reactive model. So last week, we had every elementary and middle school. We reached out to every elementary principal and we said, we need to know, out of all of your students that you are creating packets for, is it because they don't have a device or they don't have email, internet? And I said, we need to know that number. And then I worked with Will Lockard and I said, I need you to find out how many laptops we have on carts at middle and high school that we can roll out to elementary. So that has been in the works already, trying to be proactive in case we have to do that. So just know that we are trying to get ahead of the game and that we will roll out as many as we possibly can, make sure that every child that has internet but no device will have a device.
All right, thank you.
Great. That's a great question, David. Thank you for asking that.
Anybody else with Dr. Beck? Mr. Williamson?
Dr. Beck, do you have an SRO in every school now?
You know, we have not had an SRO at Kingston Springs, but I know Sheriff Breedlove can talk about this. There has one that has been hired and he has been in training, and I think it's a he. Sheriff Breedlove, you'll have to help me with this. But yes, it is our expectation that the one at Kingston Springs will start right when school starts back.
Now, if your decision is to go all virtual after the first of the year, what will you do with them, and what will the SROs be doing?
Well, that is something that we can certainly work together with Sheriff Breedlove. Certainly, our thinking was this, Ms. Williamson, is that if we choose to go virtual, we are looking at just doing it for 2 weeks. And my hope is to get these kids back in school. So I'm going to say worst case scenario, what we're thinking about, and this is worst case, and this hopefully won't happen, but it might, is that we start the year for 2 weeks virtual, and then we roll back into hybrid, and then roll into traditional. That's our best case and worst case scenario. But if we go into virtual, it will not be for very long. It's in my best thinking. Does that help? And I would work with Sheriff Breedlove in terms of what these SROs would do.
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
We'll go right ahead.
Are you going to make it mandatory?
I'm very used to it.
Are you going to make it mandatory for every employee to take the vaccination?
Well, Tim, I don't think I have that power. I would be happy to take it, and I certainly would encourage our employees to take it. But I cannot make it mandatory that they take a vaccine. but I'm going to very much encourage them to.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all so very much.
Anybody else want to put her on another spot?
Yeah, just go right ahead.
Dr. Beck, thank you.
Absolutely. And Merry Christmas. And here's to a great 2021 for all of us.
Thank you, ma'am. I know the COVID situation just came up in her conversation. I don't know, does everyone realize that we have lost a husband of one of our employees, one of our elected, well, not elected officials, but close to that, passed away on Saturday with COVID-19. So I didn't know whether everybody realized that yet or not, but we have lost a member of the community that her husband, well, it was her husband. So I'm not going to go any further with that. I just want to make sure if you have questions, you can ask me, the mayor or myself, either one about it. Sheriff, what do you?
Well, you know, everything is COVID, and COVID has hit us like it has everybody else, just as hard. We're in a constant loop of people going out with it and then others coming back from it. So we're right in the thick of it. Domestics have been on the increase, and so has the officer safety situations where more people are becoming volatile. And that's a real concern. But pretty much that's it. On speaking about the SRO issue, you know, we have one left that's completing his training. So we hope to get him in school as well. So we're back. We got chopped early on in the school year. We lost 3 at one time. So it's been a challenge getting everybody back up and running. That's about all I've got.
Anybody with questions for the sheriff? When will your department end up with the vaccine? You know?
Well, we've been told by the 23rd. I've put in a survey, or there's a questionnaire form, so I'm set hopefully for Wednesday to go in. I think, and BJ, you may be able to touch a little more on that, but that's what we're hoping this week and also going into January.
BJ, do you know?
Yeah, I talked to Neely Anderson at the health department today, and in the survey he's talking about, you know, we all had to submit spreadsheets with the folks that opted to take the vaccine. And so then it was kind of like we were just kind of coming together as a group to decide when we were all going to go. But at the same time, we were trying to make it to where we all didn't end up with 140 of us in line waiting to get it either. So they sent this survey out where everybody could go register and then pick your date and time. They're going to give it the 23rd, the 28th, the 30th, and the 4th. And from what I understand, it's from 9 to 1. And there's 138 first responders in the county that signed up to get the vaccine. And then what they will do is what it's been said they were going to do was, of those 138, they were going to vaccinate the high risk folks of that number first. Then everybody else will follow suit. Today they did like a publicity vaccine is what I call it, where they were taking pictures and they opened it up to a few representatives from each department. So I got it today. And I know Chief Binkley did, and there was some fire department folks, and Edwin had gotten the first dose today. And you get the dose and wait 15 minutes to see if you have any reactions to it. And if you don't, you go on your merry way, and 28 days later, you'll get dose number 2. Nobody that I've heard today that's gotten the vaccine has had any adverse reactions to it at all. Nothing I can speak for myself. My arm was sore for about an hour or so, and then it just went away.
Thank you, BJ.
You're welcome.
Anybody with questions for either one of them, either the sheriff or BJ, about any of those issues? Mr. Hester, where are you? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm here, Mr. Donnie. I'm here.
I'll be right back to you. Mr. Anderson, sorry.
I just wanted I had heard about folks who have serious allergies have had issues who have done the vaccines. I was just curious. So none of the folks who work in the EMS have serious allergy issues, because I have allergies.
Not that I'm aware of, nothing other than seasonal allergies. When you go to the health department, as far as what we had to do, there was a demographic sheet that we had to do, and then there was another sheet we had to do that was more geared towards, it asks you questions. Have you ever had any allergies to a vaccine before, or do you have allergies, period? And then the rest of the pamphlet is stuff that they want you to read over before you take the vaccine. It tells you what ingredients is in the vaccine, the do's and don'ts, what you should expect, what you shouldn't, those types of things.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all. Mr. Robert?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody with questions for Mr. Hester?
How's the garage going?
Everything's going good, sir. They got the footers dug. They got plumbing in. I've got the house tore down, the bank cut back. We're making great progress out there.
You didn't find Jimmy Hoffa out there, did you?
Not yet.
Anybody else with questions, Mr. Hester? Madam Clerk, do you have anything for us?
Yes, sir.
I think everybody got the trustees' reports. Mr. Byron.
I'll be brief here too. We've had we've been dealing with some COVID. I was knocked out about a week and a half with the stuff, and here to live in testimony that it's thank the Lord I had a mild case of it when other people have dealt with it all the way to the grave. So we're just very, very thankful and blessed for that. We've got another staff member that's dealing with it right now. And of course, this whole month of December has been a challenge with our 4-H clubs. Are doing their educational programs because of the schools, some going virtual, some going, or some of the situations where they didn't even feel safe going into the school. And they just decided to go with virtual all the way. They've been doing a lot of filming, a lot of videoing, a lot of educational programs that way. And then it's been a challenge, but it's been a learning opportunity for us too. So we had some great teachers that our 4-H agents work with. And they had I think I may have told y'all last month, they'd started 200 speeches that the kids did actually virtually. So the kids also learned about using video technology to conduct a speech, as well as, again, they had to, they were judged on their speech, but they had to use video technology to do it, which was pretty cool. They're working with, they just picked up about 60 or 70 STEM kits from our 4-H educational center in Murray County just this past week, and they're going to be distributing those out to the different classrooms and doing programs with the teachers, with the students, with the 4-Hers. Got a good, strong shooting sports program going on in archery and air rifles. They've been working on that. The Miss Anita has been working with a lot of people, of course, one-on-one with family parenting programs, with the Healthy Ambassador program they've got, and a new one. They've got a pilot program called Safe, Secure, and Loved. The parenting program they started the first of the year for for kids that have been through some pretty tough situations and help parents out. We finished stripping our tobacco test plot, our research plot, getting data off of that. We just finished up our master beef classes. We've got master row cropper going to be coming up. We got a lot of different programs trying to figure out how we're going to be able to do all these things, these programs that farmers are required to have, and how we're going to do them. A lot of them can't do them virtually, so we may have to do a lot of small programs with just 3 or 4 or 5 people. And so like I said, it's going to be a challenge to see how we do. We can't use our office really much for anything. Of course, our conference room is totally utilized by the nurses that are COVID testing, and a lot of people don't care about coming to our office because they've got 2 lines of traffic coming at them from the COVID testing. But we are, like I said, we are reaching out and conducting educational programs, and we're closed this week. I'm actually on vacation, supposed to be right now, but anyway, our office is closed this week. We'll be back in Monday after Christmas. We appreciate you all and hope you all have a Merry Christmas. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Anybody with questions, Mr. Byrne? Thank you, and you stay safe. Don't get this thing again.
I won't. Thank you.
We did meet. We met and approved a beer permit for Peggy Geary at Brothers Country Store on Cheatham Dam Road.
Yeah.
And apparently we're going to have another one next month. So that's all. If anybody has any questions.
I'll make that meeting.
Anybody with questions on beer board?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is either ones that was called in this last thing, are they repeat offenders?
I'm sorry, none of those were in the county. They were all in Pleasant View or Ashland City. So I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else with questions? Insurance committee, not education?
We did meet. We voted on the items we went over tonight.
Anybody with questions for Mr. Williams? Thank you, sir. Emergency services met. We toured and visited and got the new building in place and had an opening ceremony on it. We will not meet in January, but we'll meet back in February to start looking at maps and talk about the other fire station that's still in limbo over in the 6th district. If the 6th district commissioners are not on the committee and wish to attend that, that will be a meeting that we will have. We're supposed to have maps from Austin P that start trying to identify where the best place to put it would be. And that place has changed since we originally started because the Two River Fire Station came into existence. So there's going to have to be some work there because that station can cross lines. Boundary lines of service are not necessarily restricted. So you could be in the Kingston Springs Fire District, but you could actually be a lot closer to that fire station than you are in the Kingston Springs station. So that's got to be something that's discussed with everyone, how that's going to be made sure that those people are getting that service or get that close and how they are notifying their insurance. I did have a email and a call from a constituent over in the Petway area since the new fire station has gone in. That individual had about 4 pieces of property, including the property with his house on it. His insurance went down more than his fire tax. So he was very well pleased that the fire station has done what we said it would do. And his ISO rating has dropped his insurance. And I believe his insurance was with, I believe it's with Farm Bureau. So he did drop it beyond what he was already paying on his taxes. Anybody with questions on those issues with emergency services? Again, we won't meet in January, but we'll meet. Capital improvements?
We did meet. Mayor, you want to talk about moving the garage for the EMS, not EMS, I'm sorry, for Edmond?
Yeah, the EMA building, it will be shared by EMS. They will, the one we have discussed down on Jail Alley that was approved last month by the commission. We started looking at the location and we figured out if we could move it to the back of the current EMA location, it would be a better fit and a better location. And we brought that to capital improvements for consideration. I believe Commissioner Binkley, y'all passed that.
We
They
did.
sent on the floor to get approval on that to move the station behind EMA's current location off. It will no longer front Jail Alley. It'll go behind the building, but you would still enter right by the EMA building to have access to it behind the EMA building.
And the reason for that, Mayor, and you might want to elaborate even more, but was to give access to the property from Jail Alley, to the property we bought from the Lockards. Didn't want to block that entranceway. If we put it there, then of course we'd lose access to that property from Jail Alley. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner Binkley. The other concern was we thought to begin with that we would have an access out onto Ruth Drive. But when you get down there, you realize it's grown up, so it's hard to see unless you get out on the property. There's a large drainage area that comes off all that Oak Street going back that comes right through that area. So if we were to decide to go that route, it would be some expense involved with a box culvert or something that could handle that drainage to try to have access to Ruth Drive, where it would not be as much involved, just come right out on Jail Alley if we put parking or other items behind there. So that's why it worked out. And that's why it would work out to put this building behind the EMA location it's at now.
So I'll put that in the form of a motion to the full commission for approval to move from the location we talked about last month to the new location behind the EMA building.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Greer? Mr. Greer made the second. Discussions on the moving of the building? Since it's not involving any money to move the building, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have that, and that has been approved, Mr. Mayor.
That's all I had.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody with questions for Mr. Bakley?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Not sure if this is capital improvement. Did they ever get the generator hooked up at the EMS building?
Mr. Hutch? BJ?
They did not. IES came out and looked at it. And that generator is a one-phase generator, and we have a three-phase service here. And the mayor may have more to elaborate on this. I think there was contingency plans or something along with that, Mayor.
We are looking at the overall contingency would the current generator that is EMA down at Edwin's Center, that thing is toast. So that would need to be replaced. The one that is currently at the EMS station here in Ashland City by the library, as BJ pointed out, it's not a three-phase, but could be used. So we'll relocate that unit down to the EMS station in Kingston Springs and bring in a three-phase station there at EMS in Ashland City. We have GNRC working on, there's some grant options and opportunities there. So Edwin and GNRC are looking and searching out what kind of grant opportunities would be there to cover some, if not all of that cost. So that's what we're working on right now to try to nail that down.
Mr. Williamson, does that address your
Did we
question?
buy that generator brand new? I know it was probably before your time.
Yeah, I'd have to go and check. One was donated, one came from the radio station. It was a whole hodgepodge of the two we have, of where they came from. I think the one from the radio station, the one that's down at Edwin's, and it's kind of burnt to a frazzle. The one that's out at EMS now, I'm not sure where it came from. I've heard that years ago, John Haynes was involved in getting one donated, but I'm not sure where all that equipment is. I know we've got two. One's burnt. The other one can be used down south at the Kingston Springs station, and we'll bring in a three-phase to operate at EMS 1. But we are working, as soon as we get the grant monies lined up and grant opportunities they are there to get them replaced. That's the way we expect to pay for them.
That's all.
Okay. Anybody else? Calendar and rules?
Yes, we did meet finally, and we had a reappointment of Mary Sneed to the Board of Zoning Appeals from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2024. The vote was 5 yes, 0 no, and 1 absent. I put that in the form of a motion, and also we will be meeting January 7th for the agricultural appointments.
Second.
Second from Ms. Lovell. Any discussion on it? All those in favor of those appointments say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have that. Those people are appointed. Anything else, Mr. Anderson?
No, sir, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Tech Committee, Mr. Gilmore?
We did
One
not
thing-
meet. I think everybody should have their computers except for me. So I think we're good to go.
One thing to make sure of, you should be getting, if you have not already received, a thing from the mayor's office that tells us all about what our new county email addresses are. And that will be the way that Abby and so forth will communicate the packets and all through those county email addresses. And that should be, I mean, they're ready. Are they not, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. They are available, and we'll be getting those out after the first year. We make sure you make the announcement tonight so everybody know what to expect, and the timeline will be on.
And you probably will have to write yourself a note or do something on your laptop that you got just to make sure you check the thing. Because if you're not accustomed to checking it, you know, you could send an email to you that is urgent and you not look at it for 4 or 5 days. And I'll be the first one that'll happen to. So just make yourself some notes and so forth about how to log into committee meetings and the email addresses and all of that. I've taped mine to my inside of my laptop now so I can remember how to log into Zoom with it.
Mr. Jordan, we'll get those out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
So the addresses that we now have on file, we'll get the full list out tomorrow so everybody will know what their county email box would look like and be going forward.
Remember, chairmans of the committees, you've got a way to enter, to start the meeting that's different than if you're just entering the meeting. So remember what that is and how to get into that. And if you think you're going to chair, if you are chairing one and are a little confused, try to get everything set up 30 minutes in advance where you can call someone or call Jason or whatever so he can walk you back through it again, at least for the first time or two.
Question about Jason. How many days a week is he obligated to work with us?
Obligated by contract or obligated because he works?
By contract.
Mr. Mayor?
He's now under the current budget, which will go through the end of June. He's contracted for 3 days of work a week. But now he is putting in extra with these projects, but some of his costs is being tied to those projects, such as the Tucker Empson remodel, Sycamore Square Phase 2. And also, of course, he's dealt with a ton of stuff from COVID. So a lot of that is being covered by the COVID money. So
is he overworked?
I'm sorry?
Is he overworked?
I'm sure he'll tell you he's overworked and underpaid, but we have it in line for 3 days a week. And then, like I said, some of these other projects are picking up some extra hours for him. We discuss about every other week where he's at and prioritizing and make sure these projects move along. And Jason has done an excellent job of keeping things moving.
Well, he has. I really appreciate what he's done, but I feel like that he's just doing so much for so many of us. And I wonder if we're asking too much of him. I hate to call him.
Well, this is the thing that we've got to keep in mind as we grow technology-wise and more technology gets into place with the sheriff's department and with other departments. You know, we started off with one thing and we've gone to 3 days. We're going to have to look at broadening this department. I mean, if we're going to—
That's just kind of the point I was trying to get at. Is that necessary yet? You know, is that something we need to be looking at right now? You know, because it's soon be budget time.
Yes, ma'am. We agree. Anybody else on that subject? David?
Well, I just was wanting to get an update on the temperature scans and the equipment they're putting in to do the time clocks and all that and everything on that.
Ms. Batts, are you still here? Yes, there you are.
I'm here. That we are, they're doing the setups now. Training will begin soon. I think our go live is near mid to end March, hopefully. So it's just going to be a lot of training involved and making sure all the equipment's working and getting with all the department heads individually because they are a little bit different. Each one's a little bit different. So they're going to handle that by department.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Road and Bridge, Mr. Week.
We met, we had 2 issues. One was we voted to close and remove Water Plant Road from our road list. Vote was 6 yes, 0 no, 0 absent. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Binkley. Any discussions on that? Mr. Bly, does that have to go back to planning and zoning? Did I read something on that?
We've already took it to planning and zoning, Mr. Chairman. Well, after we went through the road and bridge, we went through the planning and zoning, and they voted for it. And now it's just a fact of going through the full commission. And I have an email land before me about the bridge that's on there that the state said when we showed them proper documentation that bridge would become private and full responsibility of the owner.
Thank you, Mr. Hester. That's what I was looking for.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to point out you had expressed a concern earlier in this process about there being some kind of deed recorded or something recorded in the land records so that in the future it would be clear that this had happened. And if you want to pursue that, I think this motion would need to include a requirement that the landowners are requesting this have the deed prepared and recorded.
Mr. Weekly, what was the Road and Bridges thought on that? Mr. Weekly.
Sir.
What was the Road and Bridges thoughts about a recording of some kind of information that was put into the deeds that made this a clear?
That was turned over to Mr. Bly.
Are you asking, Mr. Bly, is that part of this motion?
Pardon?
Mr. Bly.
So if you want to require that, I mean, right now you have a motion that does not require that. So if you want to require that, I would think you would need to make that part of the motion. And I would also say that it ought to be the landowners, the people who are asking for this, they get the deed prepared.
Mr. Weekly, Mr. Hester, y'all like to talk about that a minute?
It's gone through our office before, and I think Brooke takes it to Pat Smith's office, and I think she handles that usually. I don't know. I can't give you full explanation of how she does that, but she says she had that covered on that end with Pat Smith. What about you? What is that the way you understood it, Mr. Walker?
Yes, sir.
So that is part of this motion then, Mr. Weekly?
I would like to add that to the motion, that it be recorded.
And it be the landowner's responsibility to make sure it's done?
Yes.
Is that okay with whoever seconded the motion?
Would it be better to put the wording that we will close the road and pick it off our work list as soon as this is recorded?
Well, that would make sure it's done.
I think that it would, you can't record it until the, well, let me think about this. It's sort of a chicken and the egg problem. Yeah, I guess it would be, you would be authorizing it subject to the approval and execution of a deed.
Does everyone understand? Is that your intent, Mr. Weekly?
Yes.
Who seconded the motion, Mr. Binkley?
Yes.
Is that your intent as well?
Yes, it is.
Does everyone understand the motion? Okay, everybody understands it. Call the roll, please.
Walter Weekly,
Yes.
Diana Lovell,
Yes.
Eugene Evans,
Yes.
Ed Greer,
Yes.
Randy Lyles,
Yes.
David Anderson,
Yes.
Gary Binkley,
Yes.
Ann Giroux,
Yes.
Tim Williamson,
Yes.
Chris Gilmore,
Yes.
Connie Mayo,
Yes.
Donnie Jordan.
Yes. Anyone wish to change your vote?
12 yes, 0 no.
Declare that motion has passed. Anything
One
else?
other issue, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and I'm gonna need some help from Mr. Hester on this. We voted to extend Floyd Lane, which is in the 5th district off River Road, for the purpose of being the owner being able to acquire a building permit. He needs 50 to 75 feet. He was going to pay for the paving, bringing it up to county standards and going through 911 and everything.
He still got to go before Franklin and planning and zoning and everything. They're going to take the proper steps just like they would if they was building a big subdivision. It's just the ball has been dropped on this thing back probably in the 70s, I would think. And you know, they come to me wanting to know, could they, you know, do that? And really and truly, it's only up to me to recommend, you know, whether y'all accept or deny road. So I just wanted y'all's blessing on it before we told the guy, yeah, you can build this 50 or 75 foot of road so that he can get the building permit to, you know, he can have the road frontage for his building permit.
So as I understand, Mr. Weekly, you're wanting a motion to extend that road, Floyd, whatever the road is.
I think Mr. Hester said 50 to 75 feet would be adequate for him to get a building permit. He was going to pay all the expense and bring it up to the county standards. So that'd be my motion, that after he does that we accept his offer.
So not to bring the road, to extend the length of the road, not to exceed 75 feet to meet the requirements.
Is that correct, Mr. Hester?
Well, I think tonight what y'all probably be voting on, if that's what y'all think, would be whether if it's brought up to standards and he can prove that it is, and we oversee the project with the help of their engineer and maybe our engineer, as long as it's brought up to standard, that y'all, you know, in the end, would y'all be willing to accept it? Am I right, Mr. Walter?
Yes. I'll withdraw my 50 to 75 feet and make a motion to extend Floyd Lane.
And can we add to that motion what was just discussed, that it must be brought up to, before the final exception, it's got to be brought up to county road standards and approved by our engineer? And is that?
I agree totally. I agree totally with that, Mr. Gary.
So let's add that to the motion.
Is that satisfactory, Mr. Weekly?
Yes.
Is that including utilities?
Yeah, I think so. They have to have the utilities down there. I know the light poles right in front of this gentleman's property. They would have to do everything, I would think. Mr. Gene?
I don't think the utilities should be tied to the road. I mean, once the road's approved, then, you know, they would petition the utility company, and the utility company would work some kind of agreement out with them in order to extend the utilities. But that would be up to them and the utility company. I don't think it'd have anything to do with us accepting the road.
Yeah, I agree. Would it be part of planning and zoning, or would that just be up to the individual?
I'd say it'd be up to the utility district myself.
Yes, sir.
And the water line may already be extended down through there. I don't know where it ends at. I haven't been out there and looked at it.
And what it is too, you know, if y'all look on that plat where it shows that sharp elbow being Jack's Court, it's not 3/10. And where they accepted that Jack's Court, and I don't want to confuse the situation, that Jack's Court is actually what we've always considered Floyd Lane. You know, where it drops off in that elbow is just it's just dirt road. It's never been developed. You know, we've never worked that. And so they may have to come up with another road name, like Mr. Walter said. You know, they may have to go through 911 and make it whatever they decide to make it. But, you know, actually Floyd Lane makes the turn. This little part off the end should have a whole nother name entirely.
But I think the Plan Commission will watch over all of this, because it could involve a water hydrant, fire hydrant.
The Planning Commission is going to have limited jurisdiction over it, but it does need to go before the Planning Commission before the County Commission does anything. It's extending a county road, and that's something that has to get a recommendation from the Planning Commission before the County Commission takes action. It's also going to require some notices to any affected landowners. I don't know if there are any. I don't know the details of this one.
So your recommendation is to us is to send this back, is to have Mr. Hester and them have the owners to go before the planning commission with the extension of this road.
Yes, it's supposed to come to the county commission with a recommendation from the planning commission.
Yeah, they was going to go to the planning commission. I talked to Franklin about that today. Yeah, I was just, like I said, I didn't want to tell the guy, they still got steps they're going to have to take, but I didn't want to tell the guy, yeah, go ahead and build your road. I didn't want to speak for y'all. I just wanted to be sure it was all right with y'all. If he did everything and took the proper steps and brought it up to county standards, would it be okay with y'all to, that's where I was at. I just didn't want to overstep my bounds, tell the guy, yeah, that, he could do it without y'all's blessing on it.
I think you need to go to the planning commission first, then come to us.
According to Mr. Bly, Mr. Hester, that's what it needs to do. It needs to go to the planning commission.
But I'll withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
we'll wait and hear the results from planning commission.
Sounds good to me as well.
Mr. Binkley, you've got the second.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
So you withdrawn it, Mr. Weekly?
That's it.
Anything else with Mr. Weekly and Road and Bridge? Industrial Development Board? They're not here. Any other new business? We have a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Did you get that, Ms. Gupton?
Did.
Thank you, ma'am. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have that. Any other announcements?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Are we in continuance,
Merry
Mr. Gordon?
Christmas.
No, sir, we're not. We're going to have a call meeting and I will get that out tomorrow.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
One thing on that, Mr. Dro, if you and Mr. Williams will try to make sure anyone in your area that wants to speak whenever I can get the call meeting set up, if you will make sure that your constituents know there will be a call meeting and anyone that wishes to speak will be welcome to come back and speak again like they did tonight. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all. Now, somebody else had a question.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Gilmore.
So we talked earlier that it was brought up about the planning. How do we as a commission, how are we involved with like the long range planning for the county? When does that come about in front of us, or how are we access to that, where when things like this arise, we know what's being discussed 5 years, 10 years, 30 years down the road?
Well, Mr. Mayor, are you there?
I am, sir.
Did you hear Mr. Gilmore?
I did. I mean, we generally work about a 5-year plan. And unfortunately, with 4-year terms for the commission, most commissions don't want to go beyond that. I don't see a problem with doing that, but generally they don't like going more than 4 years out. That's about all you have responsibility for unless you get reelected or stay on the commission. But we have, I always have a 4 or 5 year plan rolling at all times. We're a little bit ahead of schedule on but that's my 4 or 5 year plan. I mean, if the commission wanted to adopt something and put together, I mean, I think it'd be a great roadmap for all of us to work together on.
I agree. I just like to see us put something together where we are thinking 5 and 10 years, where if, when one of us decides to leave, that we've got people that step up that are new, that kind of know what our vision was and what we're looking at on down the road. Whether they agree or disagree, it just kind of gives us all the end point of what we're driving toward.
Mr. Mayor, you and I have spoken a couple of times about bringing all the, whatever it is, it sets the boundaries. You got this.
Redistricting?
No, Mr. Bly, you said it tonight as well. It's the
growth plan,
comprehensive
growth plan.
I think that's what Mr. Gilmore is actually talking about is, aren't we pretty close to being in time to redo that?
Well, it should be reviewed every 10 years, and the 10 years are up this year as far as 2020. So we could take a look at that and reopen it. You have to kind of, either it's a scheduled or a request of one of the areas, either one of the cities or the county combined to open it back up and review it. And it was set in 2010. It was set 10 years ago. So we can bring that back up and look at it. I mean, it would be time to do that if one of the committees want to take that on to review it and look at it and determine if any areas would want to be identified as growth areas for the county and update that growth plan. But it does also open up for the cities any anticipation they have or they want to identify outside of their boundaries growth areas for the cities as well.
And the cities can have growth areas that are extended into the county areas.
That's true. That's true. But that would be anticipation at some point that the city would possibly expand or have an intent or a need to expand into those areas.
Something tells me somewhere in that plan, there's a scenario that their growth plans can extend. They have jurisdiction over planning and zoning a mile outside of their city limits. Is that correct? There's something.
That's a Michael Bly question. Like I said, we've run into some things. Pleasant View recently had a piece of property that they're working on getting into the city, but it's adjoining their current city limits. So that certain things come into play if they're trying to pick up several parcels or take up very many parcels of property. So all that comes into play. As far as their growth plan, they can identify, it's my understanding, unless they've changed it, because I went through this as city mayor 10 years ago, unless they identify or have an intent to grow in that area, they generally don't expand that. The county, the best I recall, had like a growth plan, anything from exit 19 up on Maxey Road all the way to exit 31 down at New Hope Road, outside of the town of Pleasant View, along 41A, I think was recognized or identified as a county growth plan 10 years ago. So all that should be revisited and looked at, see if what we've got is good enough to stay in place. Any adjustments or changes would need to be made. I think the first step would probably be work with the Planning Commission on that, since they're familiar with the zoning and the growth areas, and to start to get some kind of recommendation from them, and then have maybe the county commission, and then we would adopt it. But if Michael Bly is on here, he may have some more input on that, or more direction, or there are better steps than that.
Mr. Bly, I know the first time we did that, it required a special body of people that came together and created that. And then the county had to approve it or disapprove it or whatever. But those people were not all county commissioners either. You remember? Yeah, there's a special committee that is appointed to consider the growth plan. And I know and it's not the county commission, it is a separate committee. And I've already forgotten exactly who's on it, but I think that all the cities and the county together put people on that committee, and then they make a recommendation about any changes to the growth plan. And I also don't remember how far out that growth boundary extends from the cities, but it's usually sort of you think of it as a circle around the city. And so from the city limits to the outer part of that circle, their planning commission has jurisdiction to approve certain things. Although rezoning, even though that goes to their planning commission, it still comes back to the county commission to make the decision. But it has been 10 years. It used to be required that you look at it every 10 years. They took that out. So you can look at it. You don't have to look at it every 10 years, but you can look at it when you want to. Since it has been 10 years, it probably makes sense to revisit to see if there are any changes that need to be made. Mr. Binkley?
Well, I was just simply what I recalled is that when that growth plan was developed, each city has a growth plan as well as the county, all in one growth plan. And so the city's planning commissions would make decisions outside of the city limits as long as it's within their growth plan, if that makes sense. So if they determine they're going to maybe down the road they see they're going to expand the city limits a mile to the north, a mile to the west, a mile to the south, half a mile to the east, then their planning commission would have jurisdiction over those areas, even though it's in the county and not in the city. That's the way I understood it. I believe that's correct.
That's the way I understood it also, Gary. And it also started in the mid-90s is when that growth plan was put into effect.
Yeah, we went through it when I was first on the commission in 1998. They come down with that growth plan stuff, and we had to put that committee together. And I forget who all was on it. I think it's there was a commissioner on it or two commissioners on it, and then somebody from the city, and then citizens and Chamber of Commerce. I mean, it was a big group of people that sat down and put that together.
Mr. Mayor, will you and Mr. Bly look at what needs to be done to bring the growth plan back into a revisit?
We can definitely do that. We'll report back next month and like I said, if the decision is we can bring a committee together to start to look at it.
I mean, not only do people need to know, but planning and zoning committees need to know when projects come before them. If it's in the growth plan, that's one issue. If it's not in the growth plan, it changes the whole issue as to how that area develops.
Well, it's also dependent on if the planning commission truly takes that to heart. I mean, I think they've got out of that because they're approving stuff outside of the growth plan for developments and stuff. So based on that alone, we need to identify those and try to get them back on track to say this is a growth area where we would allow a PUD or high density or something like was before y'all tonight. In the rural areas, kind of protect those rural areas from some 200, 300 home development popping up out in the middle where the infrastructure is not there to support it.
And I'm not even suggesting that we do this at all. Have any of you kept up with Williamson County recently? Gary, have you?
I haven't. Last time I was down there, it was it's not the kind of community I like to see around here. So.
Well, they took an area of their county, and I don't know what area they took, but it was a real rural, large farmed area. And they did an overlay on that community. And you don't build any house in that community, in that overlay, on less than 5 acre tract. Nothing gets built. And I don't know that we would ever want to entertain something like that, but if we are trying to protect some of that type of situations out there, that might be something that we at least want to know how they went about doing that.
And to add to that, Donnie, those 5 acre tracts are probably worth $1 million.
Oh, I guarantee you they are. I guarantee.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When Mr. Bumpus was going over the facilities that are available right there at that spot, he mentioned gas and water. Did he mention sewer?
Yes.
They have a sewage line. So Pleasant View has installed that kind of infrastructure already to handle something like that.
That's correct.
It looks to me like they had that in their mind when they did that.
Yeah, that sewer line runs all the way to exit 31.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
He had to worry about that, wanting to extend it a while later. So I was thinking they had that city sewage all the way up through there.
That's correct.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes, sir.
How many more houses will the sewer system handle?
I have no idea.
Mr. Williamson, that was, if you don't mind, Chairman Jordan, Pleasant View Utility District had a massive expansion of the lagoon. So they're last I heard anything on it, they weren't even at 50% capacity. So they have a lot more expansion with no problem on that. They can handle a lot more homes or business or anything through Pleasant View or any of that service area, which, like I said, does extend on up to exit 31. And Dr. Mayo, you may recall, well, it might have been before you got on the commission, but the county commission funded much of that sewer and water expansion line from Pleasant View out to exit 31.
That was before my time.
Okay, but that was, some of y'all may have been around at that time.
I'm much too young to remember that.
Okay.
And
Who is that?
And Mr. Chairman, just since we're talking about that, little history about it, that sewer system used to belong to the county water wastewater board.
Sure did.
And it was developed and I guess put in for the school system. The only thing that used to be on that sewer system was the schools on the north part of the county. And that's it.
That is all correct.
And it got turned over to Pleasant View Utility District, and Pleasant View, I mean, it blew up after that. There was business after business going in out there.
Anyway,
Water
anything
development.
anything else on the discussion? Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second.
Second.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year, and
Everybody stay safe.
stay safe and do the best you can, because it's getting worse and it's getting stronger, it looks like.
Everyone be safe.
Everyone be safe and good night.
Merry
Good night.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Everyone, I'm fixing to end this. Thank y'all.
Look forward to working with you.